We are talking here with Dr. Jed Gillespie, Professor of Accounting and Business with Georgia Highlands College. Come back and join us for the rest of our exciting conversation. Welcome to the GHC Faculty Lounge. I'm Therese Baldwin-Obas. I'm here today with Dr. Jed Gillespie, who is a professor of accounting and business at Georgia Highlands College. Welcome, Jed. We appreciate you being here.
Well, thanks for having me. We talked about this, gosh, I want to say back in the fall, and you said, hey, would you love to be on my new show? And I said, your new show? Yeah. So I'm just so glad to be here, glad to be hanging out with you. And I think this is so cool that our community is going to get to find out a little more about us. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be fantastic.
Well, that's our job. You know, people know us in the community of being professors at Georgia Highlands College. So speaking of that, how did you get here?
So as we're joking off screen, we could go on for 30 minutes. I mean, this is a roundabout way. So I grew up in Athens, Georgia. And in the summers, I would spend my time up in the mountains with my family up in Dillard and Clayton, Georgia. So I would work up there. I started working when I was about 8 years old, peeling vegetables for the back of my family's restaurant. And so I did that. And then I grew up during the year in Athens. In Athens, you're like, well, I know that you went to another school before you went to UGA, so why didn't you go to UGA right out of school? Because my parents knew that was not going to be good. No. My parents knew, because here's what you know about Athens. If you grew up in Athens, you know that you don't find the party finds you, right? I know that's cliched, but yeah, so I went off to Wofford College, which is up in Spartanburg, South Carolina for a couple of years, transferred back to UGA, majored in accounting, actually have a Bachelor of Business Administration in accounting, stayed for my master's degree in accountancy with a taxation track. And a lot of people say, well, why did you stay for another year? Because I wanted to catch another football season. So I stayed for another year, and here's another great thing. When I stayed for that other year, also my wife at the time, who was my girlfriend, we got another year of classes together, so it was really fun. And then I went out and I worked in Richmond, Virginia for a public accounting firm in Richmond, Virginia. I did tax, and I came back to the state of Georgia. Virginia, I grew up, I was born in Lynchburg, but I had no idea how cold Virginia was. So we moved back, I moved back to Georgia, and I moved over to Rome that year, and I drove every day to Chattanooga. Every day to Chattanooga, drove up for an hour and a half up, hour and a half back. So that was something. And I worked about a 70-hour tax season, so that was brutal. And during this time, the people that I work with said, you know, Jed, you have this really interesting way of taking a hard concept and breaking it down. Like when you talk about something, it means something to me. Why didn't you go into teaching? Why weren't you a college professor? And I said, I just didn't think that was my calling. I mean, I didn't know. And so the more I kept hearing it, the more I said, you know what, that might be what I want to do. And so I called a couple of my old professors at UGA and I said, what do you think? They said, oh, you be a natural. Because at this time I was thinking about different careers and I thought about sales. They said, Jed, you do a wonderful job at selling things. What about sales? And I said, I have to believe in my product. I believe in education. And so it was a natural fit for me. So I came back to the University of Georgia. I've got my doctorate in it was occupational studies, but that's business education. And my master's is that's my doctorate is in that, but also occupational studies, business education, which is now known as workforce development. And so yeah, I did that. I was teaching part-time, taught at University of Georgia as a graduate assistant. I taught at Truett McConnell College also as also part-time as well, taught at Athens Technical College. I was trying to figure out where I want to teach. And the most rewarding part of my job was my two-year students. And you're like, well, you taught at UGA. I taught graduate students. I taught undergraduate first and second year, and then third and fourth year. But I found that the students they really learned the most in their first and second year. You could make a bigger impact. And so we know that Georgia Highlands is a teaching first institution. And when the opportunity came to come here in 2004, I jumped at it. I was working at the University of Georgia. I was actually working as a career counselor. I was in administration at the time, and I said, "Oh no, we got to get back to Rome."
To the classroom.
Yeah, and so I joined Floyd College back in 2004.
Wonderful. So here we are.
Yes.
All these years later.
Yes.
And so we know now what drew you here,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously your passion and drive for the mission here. Talk to me a little bit about how you see the current student.
So it's really weird because the current student is similar to the students I've had in years gone by. What I found is that our students are always eager to learn. It doesn't matter if you're like, and I've taught, let's see, when I first started teaching was 1997. And I've been teaching all the way up to today. And the one thing that's constant is you get those students and they have that thirst for knowledge. Before I came, I came here today, I was driving, I just wrapped up class. And we had a great class. We were talking about transfers, and we talked about also staying at Georgia Highlands College. And a student walked up to me at the end of class and said, "Dr. Gillespie, that was a great class." And I said, "Why?" They said, "Because I learned something I didn't know." And I said, "That's why I do what I do."
Exactly.
But our students are so amazing because I think I learn as much from them as they do from me. And so but yeah, it's the students, they haven't really changed that much. I mean, they're a little more sophisticated, but man, they still love to learn. And that's why I still love teaching them.
All right, that's an excellent response to that question. So as we transition a little bit, I want to talk to our audience a little bit about what you do for fun.
Oh.
What's your favorite activity
Oh my
to do?
goodness. So as you can tell, my name is Jed. So that means that I love college football. That means I love barbecue. That means I love eating. I grew up in the restaurant industry, so I love all those things. But the bad thing is, and this is what I figured out early in my career, is if you eat a ton of food, you're going to gain a ton of weight. So I had to find an outlet for that. So I had grown up playing sports all of my life. And, I wasn't the greatest athlete, but I enjoyed playing sports. And at the end of my high school career, I realized I wasn't good enough to play at college. And so when I got to college, I just kind of quit doing those athletic things. And so, of course, my weight increases and increases. And then when I was driving to Chattanooga, an hour and a half each way, I went from 240 pounds to 310 pounds. And I said, I got to do something. I have got to do something. In Rome, I walked over to the tennis center one day because I kind of grew up playing a little bit of tennis, and I met a guy named Bobby Walker. And Bobby Walker was he was our tennis director here in Rome for a number of years. He left to go to Louisiana. He came back a couple of years, and now he's in Macon. But one of the things that he taught me was that tennis is fun. And so he got me out on the court, and I fell in love with that sport. And so it has this obvious benefits as far as physicality, but the thing I think it has helped me the most with is become a problem solver. And that was something that growing up I don't think I was as good at, but because I go out and I play tennis, I'm always trying to solve a problem. It just fit with what I like. So I do tennis, and then in the morning at 5 every morning, I get up and I hit my Peloton. So I usually ride anywhere between 20 to 30 miles on the Peloton, and the goal is to finish in the top 10% of any ride.
Not that you're competitive or anything.
I'm not competitive. No, yeah, you're exactly right. But so I do that, and it's something that when I walk, it's like every morning I get off that bike, it's like I jumped into a swimming pool. And so I love that, but that has kept me in shape and has kept me, because what I found is that if I'm active and I'm doing things, then my brain tends to work better, and I'm solving problems and I'm doing stuff, and I just found I'm so much more alert, and it's just one of those habits that I've picked up over the years that I will never, ever, ever get back to the way I was, because I'm going to always go out and I'm going to play tennis, and I'm going to do things to keep myself in good physical condition.
And I know that you have a niece, I believe, who is following in your footsteps. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So, this is tough because in my family, we're always focused on, okay, my nephew's going to be the next big this, or my niece is going to be the next big that. And so she picked up tennis, and now she started running cross country. She played basketball. She played softball, and now and of course she picked up tennis, and tennis has become her sport. In fact, she's ranked inside the top 100 in the state of Georgia in girls 16. And she is, man, she's a great player, but she's only 16. She's only a sophomore in college. So we think that she has college potential. We think that she's going to have the opportunity to play college tennis, and we're excited about that.
Very exciting. And we'll have her out there with her uncle too.
Well, so here's the cool thing about Rome, and this is one of the beautiful things about living in this town, is that we have incredible tennis facilities, right? And we have folks that come from all parts of the states, all parts of the United States to come and play tennis here. And my niece played in 3 tournaments in Rome last year, and I got to see her play in all 3. And that was just that was awesome, and it was really cool. And then you get to see the impact of Rome. Right? Because when you hear about it, you don't really think about it, and then all of a sudden you see all the different card tags. You go over to the Rome Tennis Center, you see all the different card tags from all the different people throughout the United States, and you go, wow, it really, and we saw Mike Tyson last summer, right? He was here. You see all kinds of different celebrities that just come through. They're low key. You don't even, you wouldn't even know them, and then somebody will point them out. So it's always amazing to see who comes through Rome and whose sons or daughters or cousins or nieces or nephews are playing tennis here.
Very cool. And now thinking about all of the things that you do. So we know about the successes within the classroom. We've talked a little bit about some of the things that you like to do in your spare time. One of the other things I want to talk to you a little bit more about is how GHC is actually impacting the community. We have been privileged, now I believe it's our 4th year, having our 2 bachelor degree programs, one in logistics and supply chain management and the other in healthcare management. As we think about what these degrees will do for the community moving forward, I'll let you speak to that.
Okay.
You know, how are we preparing our students to be better citizens of Rome?
So back in 2014, when Dr. Green first came to Georgia Highlands, the very first day he was on campus, he came to me and he said, "I've got a project for you." And I was going, "Oh no, oh no, what is this going to be?" And again, you and I were on his presidential search committee, and I just knew him from that, but nothing else. And I go, oh, here we go. And as it turns out, his project was he wanted to develop degrees in business at the 4-year level. And so myself and Professor Annette Maddox, we kind of sat down, we started thinking about the different degree opportunities in here. And again, the way that the university system in Georgia works, and a lot of people don't know this, but the way it works is if Kennesaw State has an accounting degree, we can't offer that, okay? And so we had to pick degrees that were very important to our communities, that tied in well with our communities. And so we went through that process, and the 2 we came up with were healthcare management, which is a perfect fit for Rome and for this area. If we think this is the healthcare hub of Northwest Georgia. And then we also came up with logistics supply chain management. And all you have to do is just drive down I-75 and look at all the number of warehouses and look at the number of 18-wheelers on the road, and you go, okay, yep, that's a perfect fit as well. Yeah, so those are the 2 degrees that we have, and it's been wonderful. And I'll tell you the coolest thing that I've seen was I went from, and Professor Maddox and I went from developing these ideas on paper, and then you get to see the progression, and you get to see that student who wouldn't have had that opportunity go across the stage, and you get to see how happy their family is. And then what's even cooler than that is you get to see that student out there doing that job. And I run into him and I said, "Dr. Gillespie, you remember when I was in your class?" And I go, "Yep." I said, "You're not going to believe what I'm doing now. And here's my wife, and here's my family." And you go, "Wow, that is just amazing."
You're changing the trajectory of people's lives.
You really are. And my wife and I were at River City Bank about 2 weeks ago, and I ran into 2 of my former students. 2 of my former students were in River City Bank working there, and I go, "Yep." That's the cool thing about what I do.
That is wonderful. Well, we have even more conversation with Dr. Jed Gillespie, so please come back and join us.
I know you've had your moments of doubt and struggle, and I'm here to say I'm proud of you.
And although each one of us may take a different path, may we look back upon today as the moment we stepped into a larger world, a greater world.
You will pass this way but once. Do it right.
If ever there was a time to follow your passion and do something that matters to you, now is certainly that time.
Welcome back to the GHC Faculty Lounge. I'm Trevise Baldwin-Obas, and here again with Dr. Jed Gillespie. And we were just talking a little bit about how the market has changed. We at Georgia Highlands, of course, are working to offer more bachelor degree programs to our students to hopefully keep them within our community. So talk to us a little bit about how you would approach somebody who asks you about the value of obtaining a Georgia Highlands degree.
And I say this to anybody. I'll say this to folks I see throughout the community, for folks that know me, for folks that are going to recognize me from this video. And I think about Georgia Highlands, and I always say Georgia Highlands is a great place to start. It's a great place to start your journey, whether you're taking associate level classes, whether you're thinking about the BBA program, whether you're thinking about BIM, whether you're thinking about where you think about nursing or dental hygiene, the dental hygiene are our OGs. I mean, they've been here forever. So we think about that, and then we think about our new degrees, like in health sciences, and we think about environmental sciences. Those are wonderful degrees, and what this gives us now is not only is Georgia Highlands a great place to start, it's a great place to finish. And I think that's the value here. You can stay in your community, and you can go after these degrees that fit well with what the economics support, which are all those areas.
So where do you see us the next 5 years, 10 years from now?
Wow, that's a great question. So for me, you gotta figure that this whole transportation hub thing is taking off, right? I mean, if you look at what's going on in Cartersville, and now we've got Q cells coming back. I mean, if you've been on 411 in the last 3 weeks, and now I'm aging this video, but if you've seen it, they are clearing out all the land on 411, and you're going, what's going to go there? So about 2 weeks ago, when I went to go see my niece, we were heading to Athens, and I drove past the battery facility in Jackson County, Georgia. Amazing. That thing is humongous. So I can only imagine how much of a change that's going to be on 411. So you got to figure that Georgia Highlands, and with the leadership of President Hobbs, we're going to probably be involved in that some way or some fashion. And then you think about what's going on in Rome with the changes that we've seen with healthcare and the healthcare system. And I will say this, after going through the last year, I was playing tennis earlier this year. I thought I ruptured my Achilles. I thought I was done. And then I found myself in the emergency room. And then after experiencing our healthcare system here and just meeting the professionals and seeing how much they care about their patients, you go, wow, just tip of the cap. These folks are top notch. And what a wonderful place. We are lucky to have the healthcare system that we have in this community.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. So now let's talk a little bit about, not a crystal ball, so to speak, but I think all of us have a bucket list.
Okay.
So what's on Jed's bucket list?
So as you know, I'm getting a little long in the tooth. And so I would say in the next decade, I'll probably be hanging up my professorship at Georgia Highlands College. And so now I'm thinking about what do I want to do afterwards. And of course, I'm always going to teach. And so what I've always wanted to do was teach tennis. And it's just one of those things that I'm a pretty good player, but I have an eye for detail. And what the same thing I used to hear about, people would say, hey, Jed, you need to get into teaching because you have this ability to see something and change it. Now what I hear is, hey, I've gotten better because of you said this shot and you helped me with this. And so I'm going, here we go. Here we go with this. Here we go with this second calling. And by the way, I mean, it is the coolest thing because tennis has given so much to me. It's the opportunity that I have to give back to tennis. And one of the wonderful things, not only with Bobby Walker, but I've been fortunate enough to to play with Jalil Riaz. And Jalil has been, and for those of you that are from the Rome community, we all know Jalil, and he's an amazing teacher. And so I've just watched him, and I've learned through osmosis from him. And so, he's a great guy. And so I watch him every time he's teaching it. I'm like, okay, I'm ripping all this stuff off. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do this. But Jalil has been very instrumental. And then we've got Colt Gaston over at the Rome Tennis Center, and he's the director there. Colt is amazing. He was probably one of the best players I've ever seen in doubles in college. And then with his leadership at the Rome Tennis Center, he's just done wonderful things. So we got, again, you think about healthcare, you think about our logistics supply chain, and you think about this incredible sports tourism industry that we have in this area that tennis tends to be focused on. Yeah, so now you see my natural progression into tennis. Yeah,
absolutely.
So there we
go.
go.
So once tennis is done,
yes,
and you feel like you fulfilled that last bucket dream, how would you say people would describe you?
Oh, that's a tough one. Passionate. Surprisingly complex. Interesting, I hope. And my wife always says funny. Now, it may not come through in this interview, but my wife says that you always have this knack of saying something or doing something that just cracks me up. She said, that's what I love about you. So yeah, I would say any of those things, but I would say it's definitely the passion probably comes across. The complexity, which is when you look at me and you say, okay, we always said about him, talking about me, what's your weird thing? Because professors all are kind of little, we're all a little weird. And again, what my wife has always said is she says your weirdness is the fact that you're way too normal. And so I'll go, okay, I get that. But yeah, if we think about that's it for me. So yeah, but the complexity, and I will tell you this, I love food. And as we talked about a little bit before, I just love it. I love live music. I just love those things. And before I leave this earth, those are things that I just want to always make sure that I experience, because I miss live music over the past couple of years. I've missed going to great restaurants over the past couple of years. And it's just so cool to get back and be able to do that now.
So you are from Rome, or have lived in Rome for a significant amount of time. What are some places that people can go, whether to drink, eat, socialize?
Okay, so first off, if you are from Rome, you definitely, or you grew up in this community, you know you got to be on downtown on Broad Street, right? That's where it's happening. That's what's going on. Great restaurants. We look at the development that's going on over on West 3rd, like Blossom Hill Barbecue, Aventine. Those restaurants are top notch. Great restaurants for this area. And then of course, they're building a new live, work, play facility over there off of West 3rd as well, which is going to be fantastic. For me, I'm always looking for the perfect barbecue, right? And so my favorite barbecue in town, they're all equal, but I love the sides at Moe's. I love the sides, and I love the creativity. Love the creativity of Blossom Hill Barbecue. So those are the ones. As far as other, I mean, we think about all the community activity, right, that we have here with all the shows and all the plays and the Rome International Film Festival and all the TV shows that are shot here. I mean, so when my niece came over here in the summer for the tennis tournament, you know where she wanted to go. You know she wanted to go by the Creel House, and we call that, instead of the Claremont House, the Creel House, because that's where Stranger Things was filmed. So we had to go by, we had to shoot the photo. And it was the wildest thing that happened though. Right as we were approaching that, I had my radio on, and it was on Sirius XM, and the Kate Bush song "Running Up the Hill" came on as we were going by the crowd. I said, "No, that is way too insane." So that, but Rome, the thing I love about Rome is just it's got everything for everybody, and you can find what you're interested in. And you don't have to look that hard about it.
Now, you mentioned Riff. Another big aspect of Rome has been their beer festival.
Oh, yeah.
I was privileged to go to Riff, I believe it was 2 years ago, and there were several screenings about the brewing process.
Yes.
And you had the band who used to be Nappy Roots be part of that.
Yep.
So what are some of the great spots to visit in Rome for beer?
Oh, man. So we've got right across the street from the studios right here, I think, is it Drowned Valley? No, I might have that wrong. We'll have to edit that out. What is it? Is it Drowned Valley?
The brewery that's close in town. We'll figure that out for you and let you know.
Yeah, we might have to edit that out. But if we think about again the great breweries, Rome is a little slower to that scene as far as the brewing scene. But we've got some wonderful restaurants, wonderful bars. Cartersville is kind of taken the role in that, and you've seen some of those that have popped up. Of course, another place in our service area is Canton. Holy cow, with Reformation Brewery. Wow, so some really good places. Of course, I grew up in Athens, and so anytime I'm in Athens, I got to swing by Creature Conference and got to check out downtown Athens, because that's a cool place to be.
Well, any other spots that, people who are either new to town or just coming through for an event, where should they check out?
So, wow, I'm thinking about if you're going to come to Rome, what are the big things you've got to do? Where do you want to go? And you've got to, first off, you got to walk through downtown, and you got to soak it in and appreciate what an incredible, pristine downtown Rome is. It's just so gorgeous. Then we have to do the 7 hills tour, right? We've got to go find the 7 different hills of Rome, which I still haven't done.
There's still time.
There we go. There's still time. And then for those of you that love outdoor activities, we've got the rivers, we've got the rafting. Again, what has always made Rome such an incredible town is the fact that we've got this confluence of rivers here, which is the water source is incredible. So I think definitely that. I almost was going to leave out the Rome Braves, but you can't leave out the Rome Braves, okay?
That's a big deal.
No, gosh, they might revoke my Rome citizenship if that was the case.
So as you can see, there's a lot to do in Rome. One of the things that I find also really cool about how Rome attracts tourists and also just people to come and check out Rome. There right now is a ad campaign, Why Rome Is, I believe, is the ad campaign, and it just has some beautiful depictions of some of the talent in Rome, but also some of the beautiful architecture and the buildings, and I think that's really smart to bring people down to the city of Rome and check it out and see what it's all about. As we think about, as we wrap up here our conversation, I've talked a lot about, of course, the school. We've talked about your accomplishments, some of the things that you do in your spare time. I really want to leave on an inspirational note. And so if you're looking 20 years from now, so you've retired from education, you probably could still be coaching tennis on the side, but what would you say to individuals if they said, hey, I'm interested in going back to school, but it's too late for me?
Never too late.
I love that.
Because I'm 50 years old, right? I'm not going to give that away. But every day I learn something new. And my education philosophy is, if you come into my classroom, I failed if you don't walk out of my classroom without learning something new. And it's never, we are, and this is cliched, but we are lifelong learners. We are always constantly learning things. And like I said before, it's never too late. Georgia Highlands is a wonderful place to start, and now it's a wonderful place to finish. And so come back. We want you to start your education or continue your education or finish your education.
All right, and one last question for you. Let's say there's a book written about Dr. Jed Gillespie. What do you think that title would be?
Wow, that's a good one. This isn't one of those, if you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be? In a lot of questions. All right, so there's no right answer on this one. Oh man, you got me stumped on this one. I don't know. It's tough for me because I would just say complicated. I would say complicated because I never go where you think I'm going to go. I never do. And while you look at me and you make the assumptions and you go, well, this, and this, then my students would tell me, if they're watching this, they're going to tell me, I never know what he's going to say in class. I never know what he's going to talk about. I never know what topic he's going to bring up. And that's why I love his class, because I love his stupid stories that he tells all the time. And I think that's so much more fun.
I think that's a beautiful title. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you taking the time to watch the GHC Faculty Lounge. Please tune in for our next episode.